Hello, David Clarke here from DVC Training, and this video is my first look at EDIUS 11. Normally my videos are very in-depth. This is going to be kind of skimming through everything, and I'll do more in-depth videos later on. But it's just come out. Not a lot of people have seen it. There's not a lot on the internet, so I thought it'd be quite nice to make a video just giving you a good introduction. There's some new features inside of EDIUS 11 and also some changes to the program itself, and there's even another version of EDIUS called EDIUS Broadcast. So the first thing I'm going to do is explain what the different versions are and go through what happens with the licensing and the pricing and so on. Now if you want to skip through that to the interesting stuff about new filters and features and so on, just go down to the description on the YouTube page and you can just click on the relevant link to jump to whatever bit of this video you want to watch. So here we are in EDIUS 11 itself. Pretty much everything inside the program is the same as it was in EDIUS X. The bin has had a redesign, which has changed a few things, and I'll be going through that. But pretty much everything else, the way you use the timeline and all that sort of thing, it's all exactly the same as it was in EDIUS X. People have asked me things like, will my computer run EDIUS 11? If it ran EDIUS X, it'll run EDIUS 11. There are a whole bunch of new features, some of which are from Grass Valley, some of which are just additional third-party programs, so I'll go through all those. And there have been some changes, some things have been taken out, so I'll go through those as well. But like I say, quick first look. Now the first thing you might see when you make up a new project is that there are some new social media presets at the top. These ones down here, these ones I created myself. They were in fact carried over from my EDIUS X when I installed EDIUS 11. But these ones are ones that Grass Valley have now put in. And the idea is you've just got several settings for specific social media stuff, because people, if they're wanting to do square stuff or showing on a phone or vertical videos, whatever, they've struggled to get the right EDIUS settings, so they've bunged in some EDIUS settings for you, which are here. I always make my own up, so I didn't really need these, but it's nice that they're in there. They're all also set to 2997, which is the Japanese NTSC American frame rate. I tend to do videos at either 25 frames a second because I'm in the UK, or straight 30 frames a second because I don't see the point of the 0.97, as I'm not going to be filming that at all. If they talk about new social media stuff, that's the main thing. They've put some presets in there just so you can get the right settings for it. You might also notice that up here, project name is in red. All it is they don't put a project name for you. It's as simple as they used to have a default project name which would go in there. You'd normally change it because you want to call the project something sensible, not Untitled. Well, now it's empty and ready for you to type something in. So if you're looking at that big red thing up there, it's nothing. It's just you've got to type something. Then you choose your preset, then you get into EDIUS. Inside of EDIUS, everything is pretty much the same apart from the bin. Now I'll come back to the bin later on because there have been quite a few changes there. On EDIUS itself, there are now 3 versions instead of 2 versions. So you have the Pro version, the Workgroup version, and a new thing, the Broadcast version. Pro and Workgroup, the division between them is pretty much the same as before. One of the major things about the Workgroup version is that after installing and activating it, you never had to go on the internet again. Now, with EDIUS 11, they've made it that you have to have an EDIUS ID. Now, it's a good idea anyway, because it just stores your serial numbers online. If I was setting up a workgroup for somebody, I always say to them, make up an EDIUS ID anyway, because you can always get your serial number back off that if you lose it. So that's not a major problem. What I don't know is if EDIUS Workgroup has to actually go on the internet once a month to keep the license going. Because that's what you have to do with Pro. That has to basically live on the internet. The major thing for a lot of my customers with Workgroup is that it didn't ever have to go on the internet. I don't know if EDIUS 11 Workgroup has to go on the internet once a month because of this new EDIUS ID thing. I don't think so, but I'm waiting for clarification on that, and I'll put it on my website in a later video. EDIUS Broadcast is basically EDIUS Workgroup, but with the Dolby Plus plugin. So EDIUS has always been able to make Dolby when you're making a DVD or something like that. Dolby Plus makes professional level Dolby. It has lots more controls, and if you wanted to do Dolby properly, that's the way to do it. And it cost more money. You could always add it into older versions of EDIUS, it just costs money. That's really the major thing between EDIUS Workgroup and EDIUS Broadcast. I cannot see any of my customers being interested in EDIUS Broadcast. It is really something you're only going to use if you specifically want that and you're specifically in a large broadcast environment. The list of differences between the Pro and the Workgroup version, like I said, is pretty much the same as before. It's on my website. But looking at that, the decision about which one you go for is the same as before, and I honestly think most people will go for the Pro version. The prices have also dropped a bit. So, for example, if you want to buy the full version of EDIUS Pro, it'll now cost you €478, whereas it used to cost you €598. So there's been a little bit of a price drop. There has been a change on the licenses, so with EDIUS X and previous versions, you could activate it on two machines, say a desktop and a laptop, and you could have both of them going without any faffing around. Now you can only activate it on one. Now the license was always, if you activate it on two, you don't use both at the same time. You can't have two editors working on them. If you have two editors working all the time on two different machines, you should have two licenses. But the license for EDIUS X was that you could actually have it on one, and like you could work on your desktop, then go work on your laptop, then go back and sit down on your desktop. You can't do that with EDIUS 11 without buying an extra license. So EDIUS 11 can only go on one machine. This is going to affect customers of mine who do have it on a desktop and a laptop. A lot of my customers only have one machine, so it probably won't affect them at all. Does mean if something does go wrong with your machine and your hard drive dies or anything else, you haven't got a spare license, so you'll have to go back to Grass Valley and get them to reset it before you can reinstall it again. But I think for most people, they'll probably be okay with this. You can buy an extra license. The prices for this are not on my website yet, so you can't buy the extra license through me yet, but you will be in a couple of weeks' time. Now, an extra license, if you've got an upgrade of EDIUS Pro, is about €59. If you don't get the upgrade, if you buy the full version, an extra license is about €120. For the workgroup version, an extra license for an upgrade is 120. An extra license, if you buy the full one, is 240. Now, if you had the prices up, the price of, say, an EDIUS upgrade plus an extra license is roughly the same as it used to be for a full version. On one hand, they've made things a bit cheaper, but if you wanted to get back to having two licenses, it works out about the same. So I guess you're kind of not losing anything. Now, I'm going to talk about things that have been taken out of the program later on, but a quick mention here about the DVD and Blu-ray writing. That is also not included with EDIUS as standard. You have to pay an extra €36 to get the DVD and Blu-ray writing, which you'll have to do for every license that you've got. Again, this just means that if you're not using DVD and Blu-ray writing, it's a bit cheaper for you. Or if you write your DVDs and Blu-rays with something else, there's not that many programs around now. Encore's gone, unless you actually had Encore in the past. You can't get it anymore. Sony DVD Architect's gone. There are a couple of free simple programs, and there's also things like TMPEG authoring works, but there's not a lot of them around. If you use something else, you don't need the DVD writing, so you don't even need to buy that part of it. But if you do want to have that EDIUS 11, that's an extra €36. You can actually order the DVD writing section if you want to. The other thing to mention just before I get into the really interesting stuff is that EDIUS 11 cannot exist on a computer with EDIUS X. You could have EDIUS X and EDIUS 9 together, and they were quite happy. But you can't have EDIUS X and EDIUS 11 together. So if you install EDIUS 11, either the full version or even the trial version to try it out, it will uninstall your EDIUS X. So if you do try the trial, you decide it's not quite good enough for you yet, you'll wait and then take it off, you're going to have to reinstall your EDIUS X before you can get that working again. Or you just try the trial on a different computer. Curiously though, EDIUS 11 will coexist with EDIUS 9. You might even see on my little icons down the bottom here, yep, EDIUS 9 I've still got installed. My EDIUS 9 still writes DVDs. My EDIUS 9 still rips video off DVDs. My EDIUS 9 still captures DV and HDV. I'm keeping it on there so I can do all that stuff in EDIUS 9 and do other stuff in EDIUS 11. And they will coexist, and Grass Valley are happy with that. I have for some people actually put EDIUS X on the same system as, say, EDIUS 8. And they both seem to work okay. That's not something officially supported, but it did seem to work. Probably is the same with EDIUS 11, I don't know, I haven't tried. What I do know is EDIUS 11 and EDIUS 10 cannot exist on the same computer. And obviously if you buy an upgrade from EDIUS X to EDIUS 11, it'll use one of your EDIUS X licenses to keep the EDIUS 11 going. So you couldn't take your two EDIUS X's and shove them on two other machines and have your EDIUS 11s going on a third. Wouldn't work like that. It's never worked like that. You'd have to have an EDIUS X license and 11 license on this machine that's using EDIUS 11, and you'd have one EDIUS X activation free on another. Can you open projects done in EDIUS 11 and EDIUS 10? I have done it and it's worked. I've opened EDIUS X projects in EDIUS 9 quite happily. I've even gone from EDIUS X to EDIUS 8, and most of the time it works, sometimes it doesn't, because there are differences. It's not like Adobe or somebody like that where you simply cannot do it, it just won't open it. It will open it, might work properly, might not. Anyway, let's get on to the more interesting stuff, which is all the new features. So like I said, most of the program is the same. I'm just going to bring in some clips. So in the normal way, I'm just dragging them from Explorer into the bin. This thing of dragging a folder in is a bit slower than it was in previous versions. Hopefully they'll ramp it up. Like I say, one of the things they have done is to remake the bin, which I will talk about a bit more in a minute. So there we are. I've now got a couple of different things into the bin. You may recognize some of these clips from lots of other videos. And obviously you just look at clips, you mark in points and out points, and you put them on the timeline. All the usual stuff. What we do have is some nice new features. Some of these come from third parties, and some of these are directly used inside of EDIUS. So, first thing would be adjustment clips. An adjustment clip is a clip that you can stick over another clip and then use it to adjust everything underneath it. So normally you'd take a clip and you put an effect on it, like you'd put some color correction on it, like so, whatever. All that's obviously exactly the same as before. With an adjustment clip, what you do is you just come in here, and all I'm doing is the usual sort of right-clicking on a track, saying new clip and then adjustment clip, and it puts in a clip here. And just in the same way that it's always done, if I marked in and out point around that, said new clip, it would make me an adjustment clip that matches the clip below it, or wherever these in and outs are. So nothing's happened so far, but now I can put a color correction on that, and then adjust it, and it will affect the clip underneath it. And now I've got two color corrections on there. Obviously it's a complete mess. So now I've done my color correction on there. I don't need the one underneath it, so I'll just dump it, go back to this and adjust it to be slightly better. So now my color correction on this clip is being done by the adjustment clip. Now so far, so exactly the same. You might say, why would you want to use an adjustment clip? It gives you more options. So for example, suppose these two clips were filmed with exactly the same camera at exactly the same day, and I want to put the same color correction on all of them. I can put an adjustment clip over all of them. Now I've got the same color correction on both clips, and I can just adjust that without having to adjust these. And obviously this could be over hundreds of clips. It could be over your entire timeline. Let's add in another track, bring in another clip, put that on top. Maybe even take a layouter and shove it up in the corner. So I've now got a combination of two clips together, but the adjustment clip is affecting all of them. So all of these clips are getting exactly the same effects. If I wanted to as well, I could take that and I could fiddle with the layouter, or if you have a transform on there or whatever, and I can take that and shove it up in the corner. Now that same motion path again is affecting all the clips below it. And there's loads and loads of uses for adjustment clips. Now I'm not going to use them exclusively because I find there's plenty of times when I would just want to put an effect on a particular clip. But in this case, I mean, all this interview stuff was filmed at the same time. Probably want to put the same color correction over the lot. So I'd put one adjustment clip on the top, and then if I wanted to change the color correction, I would come to that and I would just change the one color correction effect on that, and it would affect all the clips, as opposed to having to go through them one at a time. When I do these tutorials, what I do is I film the entire screen and I zoom in and zoom out to highlight specific sections. Now I used to do that by taking this sequence and putting it inside another sequence, and then I could put an effect on that and it would affect everything in the one sequence. Now I do it just by having an adjustment clip on top, because there are times when I'm editing and I want to tweak the edit as well. When it's nested, you have to keep jumping in and out of sequences, and then the length of the nested sequence changes, and then you have to fiddle with that. If you use the adjustment clip, you don't have to do that. It's all one nice timeline. There's times when it's useful, there's times when I go back to do the old-fashioned way. It's just a nice extra thing to have, that you can do this and use an adjustment clip to apply effects to lots of clips underneath it. And of course, you can have several adjustment clips. Suppose I've done that, and then, well, let's do the whole timeline. Let's put a new adjustment clip on that. Maybe I'll go off and find some kind of film grain effect. So let's take the old movie effect and whack it on there. I'm going to turn off dust and hair and scratch and noise. Just put a bit of film grain on, get rid of the flicker and the jitter and all the other stuff. But just put a bit of film grain on it. That's now a bit of grain that's going through the entire timeline, rather than having to put it on individual clips, or rather than having to nest it and then put it on the nest. A lot of other programs have got this. They've just added it into Vegas as well. Just a really useful thing to have as an option. And just like in other programs, not every effect works properly on an adjustment clip. Another thing I've seen people doing in edits, particularly I saw this with somebody who was doing a Premiere edit, all his grading was done on adjustment clips. So he had a whole line with just adjustment clips over the top of the clips, and then he could show the client what it looks like before and after just by toggling the track on and off. So lots and lots of uses for them. Nice thing to have inside of EDIUS. Another thing that Grass Valley have put in is an OFX bridge. Now, EDIUS X and previous versions have had an OFX bridge, but it was written by New Blue. And it worked, but I was always a bit, not too happy with it. Sometimes I find that like EDIUS is a bit slow to start up if you've got New Blue Flex event in there. We really wanted one written natively by Grass Valley. Well, now they've done it. The major difference you'll notice, for example, I've got Boris Continuum OFX. In EDIUS X, you would have an OFX bridge, you drag it onto the clip, you then open it up and then you choose from the list of effects. Now all these effects appear in here as individual effects. So you can see this is all the stuff that I've got with Boris Continuum, and I can just take that and drag it like a regular effect and put it on the clip. Then open it up, and here you get the interface that you fiddle with stuff. Down here you've got all the individual parameters, which you can just go through all this lot and then fiddle with them. And you've got a keyframing area, which is just like the layout or anything else down here where you can start to keyframe them. This actually will look very familiar if you ever used the old After Effects bridge that was in EDIUS 9 and before. Pretty much looks like that. Obviously very new. I haven't tested it. I'm willing to bet some of it don't work properly, because look at this. There are so many flipping effects in here that there's bound to be bits that don't work properly. In terms of OFX plugins, the most common ones are from Boris. It will be Boris Continuum and Sapphire, both of which are fairly costly. I know definitely they're talking to them. Should take other OFX things. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But that's another major difference. They've got a native OFX bridge. On its own, actually doesn't give you anything. You have to buy OFX plugins. On its own, doesn't matter if it's made by New Blue or whether it's made by Grass Valley. You haven't got any plugins, therefore you're not doing anything with it. Now, a lot of the other new features or effects are from third parties. So first of all, let's have a look at Vitascene. You did have a version of Vitascene that came with EDIUS X, and now you have a more advanced version of the same plugin that comes with EDIUS 11. Pretty much the same kind of filters. They did add in a bunch of extra glitch transitions. And here you can see all the presets for the various glitch transitions. A new thing inside of EDIUS is you now get an animated thumbnail in here telling you what's going on. Now you notice that one's animated, these ones aren't. You actually have to click on them to get the animated icon. But now you've got a rough idea about what these transitions are doing before you put them onto the timeline. I have to admit, not a big transition user myself, so I probably won't use them, but that's all part of Vitascene. The other new filter they've actually had from is this thing called Picture Enhance. So you just drop that on a clip, and what it does is it uses AI, analyze the picture, and make it pleasing to the human eye. It's kind of the sales pitch. So there we got that effect on and off. Let's just whack this up full screen. So that's off, on. It's a subtle change, but it is definitely better. The blacks are nicer, everything about the face is nicer. It's a definite improvement. You can obviously open it up, but there are very few things to fiddle with. So you can just make it a bit more dynamic if you want to. So that's kind of like adding contrast, but isn't really contrast. And you can put more color into it or take out some color. And you can tick save colors just to make sure that you don't go completely over the top. And there's a couple of basic presets, but it is fairly simple, and it is kind of just put it on there and look at the results. So it's quite a nice thing for quickly fiddling with pictures. I mean, let's take this one. That is a shot from the shard of Tower Bridge that I did on a GH5 through a window. Let's see what it does with that. Yeah, not bad. Making it look a bit more real. Let's up the dynamics a bit. A pretty quick improvement. Compare that to, say, using the primary color corrector. And yeah, using the primary color corrector, I've got something which I think is, frankly, just as good, but more fiddling. A big thing on the audio front for me is this, extract dialogue. Now, I have mentioned this in previous videos. It's an AI audio filter, which lets you get rid of everything apart from dialogue. Like all kind of noise correction things, obviously doesn't work perfectly every time, but for me this does a better job than just plain denoising. I have mentioned it in previous videos because you could get this as a separate plugin. You just have to buy it to put it into EDIUS X. Well, now you've got an EDIUS version which is coming with EDIUS itself. You got 3 presets, but obviously you can fiddle a bit with it when you get in there, but you just pop it onto a clip and play.
David, I wanted to ask you about EDIUS.
You may have seen this clip on previous videos of mine, but this was done on a microphone, on a little camera, sitting as far away from us as you can see. And without it, there's noise. There's...
David, I wanted to ask you about EDIUS.
Not very much noise, but there's noise. With it...
David, I wanted to ask you about EDIUS.
Literally just taken it and kept Ringo's voice. You open it up, you basically got the same presets and a big slider. So you play it and fiddle with it and see what it sounds like. But it's simple. That kind of denoising works better than regular denoising, and really nice to have it inside of EDIUS because it really does do a good job of just getting dialogue out of scenes. Obviously this shot, the audio is pretty clean. There's not much talking going on anyway. Take this clip, which I did use in my last video, which is obviously just got people chatting around the camera whilst we're doing a locked off shot.
Oh, it's the light, it's really flattering. Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of traffic noise, etc. going on there. Let's just put the strong cleaner on that one.
Oh, it's the light, it's really flattering. Yeah.
You can see there, bringing out the voice and getting rid of all the background noise. Lovely thing to have inside your editing program and very simple to use. On the audio front, you also have a standalone audio editing program, which is Acoustica. Now, to be honest, when it comes to audio, I find I can do most of my stuff on the timeline. I don't bother to take it anywhere else. But you now have effectively a standalone audition type thing, if you like, that actually comes with it. So, you know, there are Cleaning Wizard batch processor. I might do another video on this at some point. I won't go through it here. It is the standard edition of this program, so compared to the full version, I know a couple of my customers actually bought the full version to go with EDIUS X. Yeah, this can only do stereo channels, can't do 5.1, can't do anything more with 2 channels of output. Well, the full version can do 5.1 and can do more, and has more effects, more ways of enhancing the stuff. It is a standalone, so if you want to take a clip and get it into that, what you've got to do is you've got to export it. Obviously exporting works exactly the same way as before, so I'm just going to export a WAV. Like EDIUS X, you choose to export something, it then goes into the job list, it gets exported. Let me just open that in Explorer. There it is. I am going to open that with Acoustica. And obviously I could have just come into the program and loaded it, but there we are. I've now got the sound from EDIUS. Now this is the version which already had the digital audio extraction on it, but then I can come up and apply all sorts of effects, time stretch, normalize it in lots of different ways and apply lots of effects to it. Like I said, I'm not really going through this program, but it's a whole standalone thing that you've got with it. Once you fiddle with that, you then save it, and then back in EDIUS, I shall just take that file and put it over the top, and that's the new version that I fiddled with afterwards. It's like using a photo editing program like Photoshop or Affinity with EDIUS. You basically have a file, a separate file, you take it into that, you fiddle with it, it gets updated in EDIUS. But this will do for you more than you can do in EDIUS. I might do a video about that another time. Nice to have that with there as well. One thing this is useful for is to do subtitles. EDIUS can display subtitles, but it can't make them. When I say you can't make them, you probably can make them actually with EDIUS 11 because it includes VisTitle, and the full version of VisTitle can definitely make subtitles, so you can probably do them with VisTitle Express. I just haven't tried that yet. EDIUS doesn't have anything native for making subtitles. Now with Acoustica, what you can do is you can come in here and you can go up to this and say add captions automatically. You tell it the language, you click OK, and then you let it get on and analyze the video, and it will make up subtitles for you on that video. I then need to export those subtitles and decide what to do with them. Like I said, not going into this in depth, I'll come back to that, but I am going to use that to try and subtitle this particular video. Get it to analyze it, produce a subtitle file, upload it to YouTube, tweak it a bit and save it. So that's another thing you might use that standalone program for. The other new thing that we've got is a new titling program. I say new titling program, it's VisTitle. All the titles that come up in my videos were based on a template from VisTitle. In the last couple of versions, we've had New Blue Titler Pro coming with EDIUS. That doesn't come with it anymore. So if you open an EDIUS X project in EDIUS 11 and it's got a New Blue Titler title in it, that will disappear and you'll have to make the titles again. Or you can go and buy the full version of New Blue Titler, and there is a cheap upgrade price for people that have the old version, which I will get on my website soon, where you can buy the full version of New Blue Titler if you want to carry on using it. But with EDIUS 11, you get VisTitle. It's not a full version, it's VisTitle Express. And it's also a VisTitle Express of VisTitle version 3, which is also a new version of VisTitle which is just coming out. We've been on version 2 for the last God knows how many years. Version 3 is just coming out and you're getting the Express version of that. Now to use it, you can either go to the title template library that you can see here, and you can choose one of their presets. Yeah, loads and loads and loads of them. Grab something like that and put it onto the timeline. And there we are. I now have got an animated title. Blop. If I double click on it, it goes into the simple editor. So this is where you just see the text and you can change it. So obviously you can change the words, you can change the fonts and that kind of thing. And then you just save it. And now you've got a new title. If you want more titles of the same thing, just make a copy of it in the usual EDIUS way. Grab it, drag, hold down on Control, let go, go into it. Change the words. Do an auto save as. So rather than saving it, it's saving it as a new version. Now I've got two titles, different words based on the same thing. It's how VisTitles work for ages. It's lovely. Also, VisTitle's really good at playing back stuff in real time. So one of the things I preferred about it to New Blue was that I could just generally pop a title on there and play it without lots of faffing. Love the way you can just duplicate it and just add in words. And of course, if you want to go further, you could just open this up and instead of just changing the words, you go into the full VisTitle interface and design your own stuff. So you have a timeline with lots of layers on it. You have a bunch of presets. You want to know more about using VisTitle? I have got a few basic VisTitle tutorials on my website. Now they were done with version 2, so this is version 3. On the face of it, everything looks pretty much the same, but of course it's the Express version, so there'll be some things missing. So for example, things like this, 3D Particles is a plugin, blah de blah. You can activate it by buying the actual plugin. You can do lots and lots of nice animated titles with this very simply. You've obviously got the templates inside of EDIUS. If you want to get the templates here, you just come over and click on that little button and you get to your same templates. And you can go through them and just double click on it and change what the template is, whatever. But really good titling program, I think. It's always been my favorite titling program. It's great to have it inside of EDIUS. Silly little things like with Quick Titler. You know, if you put a title on a title track, but you change project settings with Quick Titler, all your titles have to be changed. If you go between two different computers where the Windows scaling, nothing to do with EDIUS, like the scaling on my Windows here is set to 125% so that the words look a bit bigger on this video. You go to a machine where it's set to 200 or 100, all the Quick titles change. Obviously there's a way around it, mentioned it in other videos. None of that is a problem with VisTitle. They always look nice and crisp and rescale to be whatever size your timeline is. So love the program. Great that you get a good version, and yeah, it looks like a pretty comprehensive version included with EDIUS. Obviously you have the option to upgrading the full one if you want to. But great that that is now coming with EDIUS. Other stuff worth to mention is on print to file. Basically all the same export options, except now there are these social media ones. So you'll get these up if you use the social media project presets. I didn't when I made this project up. The other stuff to mention is changes to the bin and Mync. They have totally redesigned the bin. The main reason for this is one of the new things that you have with EDIUS is a thing called the Chorus Hub. The idea of Chorus Hub is it lets lots of different EDIUSes talk together and then talk to things like AI. Now you may have seen a video on the internet, which is an interview from IBC with the head of EDIUS development and Michael, the head of EDIUS.net. And basically there they get very excited by the ability to index clips based on the content and then search through it with all sorts of services through Chorus Hub. Now, I don't actually know how to get any of that working or even if it's something that I can do with what I've got. Chorus Hub lets you do it, but how you get that to work, I don't know. So we'll find out over the coming weeks how easily you can get those things added to it, whether it's something you can do or whether other people are just going to produce plugins or whatever. All that stuff sounds very exciting, but don't expect to get it if you just buy EDIUS 11 and install it today. It's a possibility and something we'll have to wait to see how that develops. If you want to get 2 or 3 EDIUSes talking together, you actually have to get another program called EDIUS Hub Server. If you're a typical sort of videographer like me, that's not the sort of stuff you're getting into. That's the stuff which is for big broadcasters. Now, to use Chorus Hub, one of the things they had to do was to redo the way the bin worked. The bin and Mync are core to this because both the bin and Mync have got all the clips in and they've got all the data in there, the big databases behind the thing. So they redesigned the bin. Now, on the face of it, you might look at it and say, that's not really that much different. There's some buttons disappeared across the top. You've got your different views here. You've got your tree down here. You've got a search, so you can set up search bins, that kind of thing. You've got this new properties panel here. Now, the idea behind this is you can go to a clip, and if you want to change some very basic properties of it, you can do so in the properties tab. One of the things you've got down here is clip color. So you say, yeah, I want that one to be yellow. And you might be clicking on that and saying, why the hell aren't you changing to yellow, mush? If you want to change anything, you have to undo the padlock, and then you can click on it. And of course, I can do lots at once. So undo the padlock, click. I'd love it if that stayed unlocked, honestly, because every time I click somewhere else, I've got to click it. That's what this thing is. It doesn't have everything in there. I've got information on markers, of which there aren't any. Let's put some markers on that one. Mark, 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 mark. Oh, now I've got markers. I've got a list of markers in there. Let's go to that marker, unlock it. Let's make it a red marker. Oh, it's red. Let's see, it's that clip again. Unlock it. Let's go to marker 4 and make it a blue marker. Reload it to the bin. Oh, it's a blue marker. So yeah, you can do all that stuff inside of here. I haven't found a decent use for this yet. It's not been there before. I'm used to what I'm doing. So most of the time I just click on this little thing to get it out of the way. You can still edit the clip properties by right-clicking on the clip and going to properties and shoving things in here. Like I should be able to change the clip color here. But you can't edit things directly in the bin. So I've got the same views as I had before, which you can see up here. So you've got your thumbnail view. You've got thumbnails without words. You've got thumbnails with some stuff at the side. You've got the straight, just text and text with a thumbnail. Those views are all there. It's just that the buttons have moved down here. The buttons to do things like add clips to the timeline, bring clips in, they're not there anymore. But if you want to bring a clip in, you just double click on here and you bring in a clip. One of the buttons I used to use a lot up the top here was to add clips to the timeline. I want to add those onto the timeline. I used to go up there and click a button. You can still do it by selecting them, right clicking and say add to timeline. And it does the same as before. There just isn't a button for it. Now, I don't know if those buttons are coming back. There's a few things here which are missing from this bin that used to be in the old one. I'm assuming that this being the very first version, they're going to put them back in, but I don't know for sure because they never tell you what's going to happen in the next ones. The sort of things that are missing are things like if you go into text view, like I have the real name up there. I'd like to change it for that clip. In fact, I'd like to put a real name on all of those clips. Used to be able to select them all, click and add something. Now I can't. If you look at the columns, you used to be able to right click on here and change the columns. Now you don't do it there, but you come up to this thing where it says columns and you just have a list of them and you can tick the ones you want. It's actually a bit quicker because you can come through, look at them and tick a few at a time. So now I've got more columns. I've done things like previously I bought clips in that were maybe made in Resolve. And for some bizarre reason, it hasn't got the field order right. It's thought they're interlaced when they should be progressive or whatever. I used to be able to select it, change the lot at once. Now I can't. Now, bear in mind, this video is being done as EDIUS 11 has just come out 3 or 4 days ago. It's very new. If you watch this video in a couple of months' time, all of this might have changed. This is the first version of the EDIUS 11 bin. I'm willing to bet things will change. I can't promise you they're going to change, but I'm willing to bet they will. So if you're looking at this and it's not October or November of 2023, look at a more up-to-date thing about the bin, okay? Because it's probably changed. Another thing which is kind of irritating, I have to say, is that every time right now I change the view, so like I'm in list view, let's go to thumbnail view, it closes this up. And I have to go and find those clips I was looking at again every time. That's annoying. That's got to be one they'll be fixing anytime soon. Another thing that's missing currently is there's nothing on here to tell you which clips have been used. All these clips have been used on the timeline. They're down here. We just put them on. There's nothing on there telling you that. If you go into the text view, I used to be able to get a column that said timeline reference count. It's not there. Let's hope it comes back. On the forums, I have also seen a couple of people saying that they've opened up old EDIUS projects and this bin has been completely blank, which has got to be some kind of bug because it's the very first version of EDIUS 11. I know they're looking into that. I'm sure that one will be sorted out very soon. It might even be sorted out, you never know, by the time I finish this video. So in addition to rejigging the bin, also rejigged Mync, and they've put Mync in here. So you've got another tab in here, which is the Mync tab. You did used to be able to go to the source browser and see Mync down there. So it's kind of something they had before, but now it's there as its own tab, because their idea is that you're going to be using Mync a lot with EDIUS. And in the process, they have also redesigned Mync itself. So let me open up Mync. So you used to have one big tab which showed you what's on your computer and showed you what's in the catalogue. Now it's been split into two. So the first one is importing, which shows you all the footage that you have on your computer, and you just click on something and open it up. All the usual stuff comes up over here. If I want to add those into the library, there used to be things like you could select a whole bunch of clips and then right click and say register to library or register and create a catalogue or whatever. You can register them to the library, but mainly you come up here. So you have the option to import them and register them. So that will stick them in the library and copy them to a specific place, or you can just register them. Now, if I want to register them and I want to create a catalogue, what I've got to do is go to this one, come down to register to and click on the little dots and then make up a new category. So in this case, I'm going to go right click and plus, and I am going to call it a new catalogue and choose that. Don't have to do that, but if I wanted to register it to a new category, I'd have to actually make one first. I can also add some tags and ratings on them as I go, or I can do that later on. Then you select the clips and you say register it to the library. You can either register just these clips or register it with all the subfolders. So I just click on that and that will add those into the library. To look at it, go into the library, and here you can see I've got my new catalogue and the stuff that was in there already. And obviously I could take the stuff that was in there already, take those and move them around, put them in their own catalogue, whatever. No, take those, bung them into this catalogue. But they just rearranged it a bit. They have taken a few things out. So you used to be able to storyboard stuff in here, which is where you do a rough edit, a very rough edit in Mync, and then you'd be able to export it as an EDIUS project and open it in EDIUS. That's gone. And also the features to look for offline clips, clips that are in the catalogue but aren't there anymore, and also duplicate clips, those have gone as well. Now, if you haven't been using Mync before, you won't notice any of that. And a lot of people I know haven't been using Mync. I sometimes get people saying, what is the point of Mync? Why is it there? It's a cataloguing program. It's meant to help you organize all the footage that's on your hard drive. If you're doing one project at a time, bringing stuff in, making a video, then go on with the next one, you never bother with Mync at all. It's there for organizing lots of stuff. And I've got this stuff here. I now want to take it into EDIUS. Well, of course, I can just pop back into EDIUS and let's have a look at new catalogue. Oh yeah, that's that footage. Let me take that and put it on the timeline. Bosh, I now have that on the timeline. This is literally just a test shot of me pointing a camera at my back window. It's done in a log format. Let's put on the picture enhancer, see what that does. Oh, that did quite a nice job of actually changing it into a decent shot. I mean, what you should do with this, since it was done on a Panasonic GH4 in a Vlog format, is to use the primary color corrector. Pop it on there, open it up. Tell it that the source is actually Panasonic. That's the proper workflow. It was just interesting to see what it did just by popping on that quick Vitascene thing, which to me made it fairly usable straight away. All the same kind of stuff as before. You do have a few more options. So for example, if I wanted to convert that to something else, I can right click on and say transcode. And what that will do is it will take it and transcode it into one of these formats. You can add to the list of presets here by going to EDIUS itself and making up a new preset, exporting the file and then importing it, and it'll add it into this list. But if you want to transcode it, you can do it in here. Now you can still do it in the bin in EDIUS. See, I can still come in here, select those and convert just as I did before. Probably still end up doing that, but now you've got the option to transcode in Mync, which is why you have a job monitor, so that you can see all the list of stuff that's transcoding and keep a track on it. Another thing they've done with Mync is that if you make up a project in EDIUS, your projects are automatically added into the Mync library. So here you can see on the Mync tab, I've got all my other projects that I have been doing. The nice thing you can now do is to go to, say, that project, go to the bins, you can see all the clips, or you can just grab hold of a sequence and bring that sequence into this project. Now I've got to see Mync as well as the bin, so there's the EDIUS bin. Just grab hold of that sequence, drag it, drop it into there, open it up. There we are. Sequence from my other project brought into this one. I want to bring the clips from this bin in. I can't actually drag the bin in, but what I can do is then select the clips themselves and drag those in. So it's a nice way of getting stuff from other projects into this project. If I was to say go to this clip here, This is the project that I was fiddling around with for most of my demonstration. You notice that's at 30p. Let's try and bring that sequence in. Doesn't work. You can't bring in sequences that don't match the project frame rate. But what you can do, I could bring in all those clips that I was using, just like so. It's not copying them, it's not moving them, it's just getting things from other projects. So that's nice. You can see stuff from other projects and easily bring them in. And you can even bring in whole sequences as long as the frame rate matches. So they pop up in the Mync tab. They also pop up in Mync themselves. So go to the management here, you can see the whole bunch of projects at the top. Loads and loads of different things. See every single bin as you go through them. All that stuff, again, appears in the Mync tab in EDIUS, and then you can bring them from one project to another, which is nice. The other thing you can do, which was mentioned in their launch video, is you can make up a project based on a particular clip. And looking at EDIUS, you'd say, how do I do that? I can't see anything in here. I've started a project, I've chosen some settings, how can I do it? You don't do it from EDIUS, you do it from Mync. You've got to close EDIUS, and then you've got to go to your clip. So this particular clip is what? It's 1920 25p. Well, that's boring. Let's go back to Tower Bridge. What is that? That is 4K 50p. I'm going to right click on it and say edit with EDIUS. It says give it a name. OK. Wait for EDIUS to start up. There we are. Clip on the timeline. Let's check the project settings out. Oh, it is a 4K 50p clip, progressive 8-bit, which is what the clip was. Bing, bing, bong. Of course I can come into the settings and change them. As before, this has set me a 50p project. I cannot change the frame rate. Sorry, that didn't make it in. Love it if you could change the frame rate. But I can change the bit depth if I want to go to 10-bit. I can change all the other stuff. Again, this is exactly the same as it was with EDIUS X. But this is how you would create a project that matches your clip. Most of the time, I know what I'm doing. I never use this in other programs. I never use it in Resolve or Premiere or anything that makes clips like that. Most of the time I don't bother. Most of the time I just go straight ahead and choose the project preset because I know what I'm doing. But if you want to make one based on a particular clip, then you can do that. You just have to register it to Mync, find it in Mync, and then say edit with EDIUS. And that only works when EDIUS is not open. So if I was to right click on this now that EDIUS is actually running, you'll notice that I can't say edit with EDIUS. It's not there because EDIUS is open. You have to have EDIUS shut. But that's how you'd use that particular feature. Now, just before I wrap this up, I said it was going to be a quick chat. It isn't. It's been quite a long chat, but I can go more in depth into this stuff in other videos. But just before I wrap this up, probably a couple of mentions as well about other things which have changed since EDIUS X. You cannot do stereoscopic projects anymore. I don't think many people did. I happen to have a 3D camera, so I was using it. But you can't. It's been taken out. If you want to edit stereoscopic, make sure you keep EDIUS X or 9 or whatever around. Because this doesn't do it, it's been taken out. They've also taken out the ability to do RS422 capture with the Storm 3G. Now, pretty much I don't think any of my customers were using this. In the old days when you had decks which had serial port control on them, so these will be broadcast decks, you could actually start and stop the machine using a cable which will be connected to the serial port, which computers don't have serial ports anymore, so you had to find out a way to connect it instead. You know, everything's moved on, they got rid of that. It still works with the same hardware, so it still works with the same Blackmagic cards. In this particular system, I have got a Decklink 4K Extreme. It happens to be a card that can do 50p 4K output. I've got old-fashioned Blackmagic intensities, not even Intensity Pro 4Ks, really old ones in some of my system. It still works with those. So pretty much it works with whatever thing you had working with EDIUS X will work with this. Not much change has been done on that. It's literally, you can't do RS422 machine control capture anymore. And you can't print tape anymore. You used to be able to go here and say print tape and it would actually start the deck going. Obviously that doesn't work anymore either. Looking at the export here, you can see that I don't have the burn to disk option installed at the moment. If I wanted to put that on there, what I have to do is go up to the license manager. I would have to right click, say online activation, and shove in the serial number that I get when I buy the extra thing into here. Restart EDIUS, you should have your disk burning back. Haven't installed it on this one. This is what it looks like on a system that has got the plugin installed, and let me open it up. And yet you can see here exactly the same disk writing as there were before. Okay, that's given you a run through on new stuff inside of EDIUS 11. Hope you found it useful. I'll try and do some more in-depth tutorials on some of the extras like VisTitle Express and so on. And obviously I'll produce new videos when updates come out over the coming months. Now bear in mind this is the first version of EDIUS 11. Bound to be things in there that don't work 100%. They all will be improved just the same way that the job monitor got improved with EDIUS X. I'll let you know about those updates as they come out. I do like a lot of the new things inside of it. I love having VisTitle inside of it. I love the AI voice thing inside of it. Be interested in what results I get with their new auto color correction as well. There'll be information and updates on my website, www.dvctraining.co.uk. Of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more updates, and I'll see you next time.